Have you ever heard that the name Lucifer is connected with the devil or Satan? In many Christian circles, they teach that Lucifer is the devil. Let's take a look at that today. There's only one reference in the entire Bible, or the Old Testament, I should say, about Lucifer. And that Hebrew word is Hallel. It means the morning star. Okay. Only one reference. That makes it easy to take a look at it. So that is found in Isaiah chapter 14. And let's read that and see, is it really about the devil or Satan? It says in verse 11 and 12, "Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy vials, the worm is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations?" I'm reading this in the King James Version with the these and thous because it does not appear as Lucifer in some other Bible translations. In the ESV, for example, it says, "How are you fallen from heaven, O day star, son of the dawn?" So newer Bible translations are not even, they don't even have the word Lucifer, meaning the morning star. So the newer translations will say something like this, son of the dawn. Okay, O day star, son of the dawn, meaning the morning star. So why does the King James Version have this word Lucifer? And many people have thought through the centuries that this is something about the devil. How do we know that this is not speaking about the devil falling from heaven? Which, by the way, that is a really interesting topic in and of itself, because the pseudepigrapha book of First Enoch is all about fallen angels and how that all happened. That is not something that was in the Hebrew Bible, but it was adopted into Christianity with this whole story of fallen angels. And that's how we get the whole idea of this devil character and his demons. So how do we know that this verse in Isaiah 14 is not about the devil? Well, take a look at a few verses earlier when it actually says who it's speaking about. In verse 4 it says that thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how hath the oppressor ceased in the city? It's talking about the fall of the king of Babylon. That's what this whole passage is about. And they talk about how proud he was, how he wanted to make himself like the Most High, but he has fallen. This is about the king of Babylon. Let's look at the verse that follows after this, where it says that he's fallen. "For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend unto heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of God, I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north." So from that Christian understanding, we're thinking, oh yeah, that's connected to the devil because he wanted to make himself like God, and so he was thrown out of heaven. But there's no place that actually says that in the Bible. Even in First Enoch, which those angels were not even led by Satan, but they were led by other angels originally. They convinced 200 other angels they conspired together to go and have earthly women. Later on, the story was changed to have it as Satan was the leader of them in the book of 2nd Enoch in the 1st century. But the original story didn't even have Satan as their leader. But anyways, the book of First Enoch, that's how all of this came into Christianity. So this is not about the devil or Satan. Lucifer in this passage is the king of Babylon that's fallen, and the King James is the only version that uses this word Lucifer. Hebrew, Hallel, the morning star. Speaking on this topic, let's do a little extension here. In the Hebrew Bible, there are 0 references to devil, because that is actually a Greek, that's in the Greek New Testament, diabolos. So that is not even in the Hebrew Bible. But the character Satan or Satan is in the Hebrew Bible. I checked all the numbers on this. 27 times Satan is mentioned in the Hebrew Bible. And many of these are the very first example in the book of Numbers, it says, the angel of the Lord went and stood in the way of Balaam with his donkey and accompanying people, blocking the way as an obstacle. So in that verse, it says the angel of the Lord went and stood as a Satan against Balaam. Being the angel of the Lord, that would have to be upon God's orders or directives. And what we find through the whole Hebrew Bible, even when you get to the book of Job, Satan only acts upon God's orders. He's not an independent entity or acting or going against God or fighting against God. Quite surprisingly, that's what it is in the Hebrew Bible. But that gets changed when we get to the New Testament. There's all this demonic activity and the devil and all of this. Well, where did all that come from? Again, I would say go back to the book of First Enoch, which is not even in the Bible, but had such a profound influence upon the New Testament. That becomes so marginalized that people have not even heard about the book of First Enoch. Well, people who study, of course, yes, but many people just in the general public maybe have not even heard about the book of First Enoch. The Epistle of Jude in the New Testament, one of the shortest books, Epistle of Jude actually quotes from First Enoch, saying he comes in power. I'm putting this in my own words a little bit. He comes with his tens of thousands, and he comes in power to judge sinners. And you can compare that it is a direct quote, because Jude does say Enoch the seventh from Adam prophesied and said, and then he quotes First Enoch. So interesting. It had a profound impact upon the New Testament, but very few people even know about this book of First Enoch. But let's continue on to our extension study here. So counting up all the numbers in the New Testament, the devil is mentioned 61 times. That is the Greek word diabolos. But some of those are actually other words that are related to diabolos, but those are things like demons or daimon. So when we add up all of those, diabolos and demons, we get 61 references to the devil or his demons. How many times is Satan mentioned in the New Testament? I came up with 37 times. Almost all of those are the Greek word satanas, which is a transliteration from the Hebrew. One of those was Satan, and that is sort of an outlier, but means the same thing really. So we get 61 plus the 37 that were Satan, and we get a total number of 98 times that the New Testament obsesses over the devil or Satan. And in the New Testament, he is an evil character. He is against God. He is all the things that Christianity teaches against God, against God's people. He's warring against God. He's the embodiment of evil, everything evil. And so the New Testament talks about him 98 times. In the Hebrew Bible, only 27 references to a character that is actually an angel of the Lord in the Old Testament and only does what God tells him to do. So he's actually not an evil character in the Old Testament. But that undergoes a development and an evolution where he gets like changed into being this evil character by the time that we get to the New Testament. I would say even maybe a century or so before the New Testament. So when the New Testament bursts on the scene in the first century AD or CE, so he's become this evil character. And that will wrap it up for today.